No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. Oh, you meant the world to me. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. that's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. Oh, you meant the world to me. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept
How many of you know this about the organization? We were recently published in the Anandabazar Putrika, the daily, on the 20th, and we have also been featured in the local news. We are a non-profit organization, a student-led non-profit organization. All right, and we believe in philanthropic work. We'll be showing some of it before we start the presentation. It was founded by Taman. So I would like Taman to say something first. All right, Taman, about the organization, the origin. Okay, so that's good for an introduction. To be honest, when he told me about the idea of this organization, I never believed it would be whatever success we have received so far. To be honest, it's not that massive, but it is something. All right, and I would say I was really excited, but I never thought that it would be so very successful. So, anyways, it is now. Anyone who wants to collaborate with us, wants to work with us, can also text us. This complete webinar is presented by Aid for Education Youth Foundation, along with North Point English Academy and Your ICC Companion. Do check the YouTube channel, Your ICC Companion, for some great tips and tricks for your success in the ICSE examination specifically. For the CBSE students, you can follow it. You'll get a lot of knowledge, but it's basically for ICSE students, and we'll be expanding the project very soon. Now we are just waiting for 2 or 3 minutes of silence so that the air gets settled. All right, and the teachers are going to join. Just a couple of minutes of silence. Let everyone settle down. Be ready to get amazed. Sir? Sir?
Yes, sir. Say.
Sir is coming, sir and madam,
Yeah.
and the other teachers.
I have told them. You start. As sir comes, you start. Okay.
Yes, sir. As sir means as soon as sir and madam joins, we are starting.
Yeah.
So you want to say anything to the students? Sir, Bhaskar sir has come in the way.
Hello, Hertz. Madam is not taking the call. Okay.
Yes, sir. So then we are waiting for a couple of minutes and then we can start.
Yeah. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Good evening. Harsh, good evening, everybody. Okay. Do I need to speak anything or do I need to listen only?
So we would like you to address us first, and then we can start.
Acha, can you tell me the topic, Harsh, on which
So the
you are
topic,
conducting the webinar?
so we have titled it "The Subtle Art of Effective Public Speaking and Daily Conversations."
All right. Means you want to focus on public speaking in English, especially.
Yes, sir. The first
Okay.
slide, and
Okay,
then
children.
day-to-day conversations.
Okay. So have all the participants joined the meeting?
So we are just waiting for a couple of minutes so that the rest
Okay.
ones can.
Can I too wait so that you officially announce the opening of the webinar so that I can start the speaking to you all before you start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, then I'm waiting for 1 or 2 minutes. You tell me when to start, then I will be pressing.
Yes, sir. So you can start with your speech.
First of all, let me wish everybody a very good evening.
Good evening,
Children,
sir.
I feel good evening, everybody. Children, I feel honored to be here in the webinar as the chief guest. Before I speak anything, I offer my heartfelt congratulations and blessings to all the students who have taken the initiative to conduct such an innovative webinar, and of course also to those who are here to attend the webinar. What I came to know from Harsh is today's topic is how to be effective in public speaking in English children. You know, it is everybody's desire. If you ask your own self also, it is everybody's desire to give a good speech in public. In other words, have the ability in public speaking. Let me first tell you what is public speaking. Public speaking is actually a presentation that is given live before an audience. What's the goal of the speech? The goal of the speech is to educate, to entertain, to influence the listeners. You know, words have the power to inform, persuade, educate, and even entertain. And the spoken word can be even more powerful than the written word if it is in the hands of the right speaker. Often you will find that you are mesmerized by the speech of a person who is speaking in front of you, and for hours and hours you wish to listen to him because he has got the skill to use the verbal words to such an extent that he has got a hypnotizing effect on the audience. Let me tell you something about the history of public speaking. The origin of modern public speaking, children, dates back to the ancient Greek and the Roman era. The ancient Greeks used public speech to praise or persuade the others. At one point, all the Greek citizens had the right to suggest or oppose laws during their assemblies. This resulted in need for skilled public speakers. Speaking in public became a desirable skill and was taught. How to speak in public was taught literally. Public speaking in the time of the Greeks was called rhetoric. Later, when the Romans came to power, speaking in public was used during the Roman Senate sessions. The Romans adopted the public speaking rhetoric methods of the Greeks. In fact, you will be surprised to know most of the public speakers were teachers and they were Greeks. Now, let me tell you one thing. An estimated 75% of the adults suffer from the fear of public speaking. When stress hormones are released in our body, our minds go blank. Our voice becomes harder to control, and we may even visibly shake. Often you will find if you are asked to deliver a speech in the assembly, you start trembling, your voice cracks, and you are not able to present your expression properly. Even professional public speakers have to deal with nerves, but they have the techniques to cope. Let me now discuss some of the ways of speaking with confidence. Means how can you speak with confidence in public? Number one, don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you are aware that you are making mistakes, you can never be a confident speaker. Second, practice, practice and practice, because you know the common adage, practice makes a man perfect. Maintain eye contact with the audience. It will give you the confidence to interact with them. Use gestures to emphasize your points. Often you will find your teachers, while they are teaching in the class, It is also an art of public speaking. And there they are using their hands, their feet, their heads, their eyes in order to emphasize their points. This is nothing but the confidence they get in public speaking. If you are nervous, if you are getting excited, breathe slowly and steadily. Use your voice aptly. Most importantly, have positive mental energy. And last but not the least, maintain confident body language. Body language with confidence is a great skill to get hold of public speaking. Finally, let me tell you, what are the benefits of public speaking? Why should I speak in public? Why should I practice speaking in public? I can individually speak in 1:1 format. Why do I need? What is the benefit of speaking in public? Remember, children, public speaking improves confidence. It betters research skills. It makes deductive skills stronger. It improves the ability to advocate for a cause. Public speaking improves critical thinking skills. It analyzes communication habits. It makes new social connections. It improves communication skills also. It expands your professional network. And lastly, public speaking personalizes professional reputation also. So children, more or less, I gave you a background of public speaking. In detail, you will hear from the people who have organized the webinar for today. I would like the people to start the webinar. And once again, I offer my heartiest thanks to be present in this webinar. I have been given the opportunity to be in this webinar and listen to your very valuable inputs. Over to Harsh.
Thank you, sir. So now we'll be starting the webinar. First of all, it's going to be a good evening, I hope. We have made the presentations. Now, what is public speaking and everything will be starting. But before we start, we have got a rule for everyone. Please have a notebook and a pen or a pencil to note what is being said, because it's going to be informational. And we start here. First, we'll be giving a bit input about a short video about our organization. This being said, we start the webinar. Aid for Education Youth Foundation and your ICC Companion, we togetherly present you the subtle art of effective public speaking. Now, why do we speak? First, we need to get clear, why do we speak? There's a reason for that. Number one is we communicate with people. And number two is to express our emotions. There are animals who speak, but they don't have emotions. They have, but they can't express it because they don't have developed languages. Now we do have, and which is why the use of proper emphasis, the way we speak, we can say more than what the words just mean. Now we'll go into a bit of history of the evolution of English, because it is English public speaking. The ancient English is also called Proto-Germanic English, which came from the West German dialect. Then came Middle English, which had a French influence, a lot of French influence over it. Then came early modern English, which is basically what we call the British English. And now in today's date, we have got modern English, in which we have got accents throughout the world. We have got Canadian accent, American, Australian, Indian. So these are the inputs that English has had for centuries, because English is a very old language. Now, in this, we need to understand what are the two ways, the two forms of language communication. Number one is prepared speech or a public address in which you write down, in which you already know. It is not an extempore speech. And the second one is day-to-day conversations, in which you're not prepared to talk about anything or to confront anyone. It's completely spontaneous, and it requires a lot of talent to be effective in day-to-day conversations as well. Now, the big question is, in prepared speech, Fred Miller once said the worst speech you'll ever give is far better than the one you never give. So get ready to give one. So we need to understand, why is it necessary to be a good speaker? There are various points. Number one is to inform. Everybody has got a lot of information, but due to the lack of the ability to convey the information to people, they don't get a public stance. So you need to be a good speaker to inform people. Number two is to win over the crowd. If you're an attention craver, which is completely fine to be, you need to win over the crowd. You need to be a good speaker. The people must listen to you and find it interesting. Number three is career advancements. Scientifically, it is being said that a good speaker in a career gives you the advancement level of 78% than an ordinary level of 42%. This is the scientific data from the year 2019, before the pandemic. Number four is stand out in the workspace. Take an example. There are 10 people in the workspace. Wherever you work, there are 10 people in together, and you are the one who is the best speaker. Now, whoever your employee is going to give you more importance, because you can make yourself understand better than the others. Number four is becoming a good leader. It is said that not every good speaker is a good leader, but every good leader is a good speaker. So every good leader, if you can lead people, you need to make them understand first, which is why you need to be a good leader first. And the last point is developing critical thinking skills. If you're a good speaker, you'll know a lot. A good speaker is also the one who listens a lot. Now, if you listen, if you speak, you'll get to think. And if you think a lot, you'll develop these skills, these ideologies, critical thinking ideologies, which is going to help a lot. This being said, let's get into the table of contents. We'll be dealing with the table of contents, in which we are going to have certain problems that a normal person faces while giving a public address. Number one is the lack of confidence, as Sir just said. Number two is the sin of monotony. We'll get to that sooner. Number three is having an ordinary vocabulary. And number four is poor interaction with people. These are the four problems that most of the people have while giving a public address. And we are going to get solutions for these problems right now. Now, number one, lack of confidence. There's a quote which says, confidence is a superpower. Once you start believing in yourself, magic starts happening, by Lauren Hoverack. Now, effects of the lack of confidence. If you're an underconfident person, a non-confident person, what are the effects of it? You're being late at making good points. You know a lot, maybe you've read a lot, but you cannot deliver it properly because you lack confidence. You don't have confidence in yourself. You don't remember. You tend to forget things. Number two, as I just said, forgetting things or forgetting your lines while giving a public address. Number three is being panic-stricken. If you don't have confidence, it is not just in a speech, but anywhere you go, you'll feel that moment of panic. Number four is unable to form quick thoughts for delivery. You'll often find that you get into a debate, and after the debate is done, maybe a couple of hours later, maybe a couple of days later, you think about it and you'll find that there are a lot of things you could have said, but you didn't. Now, you'll find many people are there who at that very moment make the right points, which you're going to make a couple of days later, which is of no use. Now, if you have got that confidence, you are going to make quick thoughts of delivery. You can think faster. And the last is unable to merge and arrange the string of thoughts. Whenever you are speaking, you are thinking spontaneously. But there are a lot of thoughts coming and going out of your mind. You cannot merge them. You don't understand which is the one I have to speak and which is the one I don't. So in that, is the effect of the lack of confidence. Now, the very example of how to get confidence is practice confidence. Number one is, we have got 4 tips. Number one is read about the topic for 7 to 10 minutes on which you're going to speak. You can make notes if you're a beginner. Take a diary, jot down whatever you have read. The ones you feel bolder than the others, you just note down them. You don't need to copy paste everything. Whichever you felt more bolder than the others, the ones more important, you can just jot down those and you can learn those. You can read about it more and more. Number 2 is try to study 5 such topics daily. A good speaker is always a person who is well informed. You'll get better references while giving a speech. Now, once that's done, forget about it for at least half an hour. Don't stay at your study table. Move from there. Now come back and think about the points. Don't read it now. Whatever you remember, you pin them down. You pin the points down, whichever you remember. Number 4 is go in front of the mirror. To be honest, this was the first advice Bhaskar sir gave me when I was in standard 8, that how to be a good speaker or how to practice English better. That go in front of the mirror or maybe anywhere alone. You don't have to speak very loudly. Just speak to yourself and remember the things that you have studied. And the number 4, that the moment you break down in the middle, whenever you're practicing, the moment you break down, the moment you start forgetting everything, start again. You'll find a professional actor taking many takes in a movie, which makes it perfect. You are an actor in real life. Take multiple takes till you achieve perfection. Now, next up, we are going to have an example. Suppose you have to give a speech on global warming. It's one of the engraving topics we have right now. So how do you prepare for the topic global warming? Here's an example for that. The topic is global warming. Now, first you prepare the points. What are the points you need to prepare? First up is definition. What is global warming? Causes of global warming. Why is it of concern? What are the causes? What are the effects it's having on us? Now, if it is a problem, then what are the solutions? Now, these are the solutions that I think. What are the applied solutions? What are the solutions that already people have applied? Now, point number 1, definition. What is global warming? Simple as that. A gradual increase in the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere due to increasing greenhouse effect. Now, this is what global warming is, the basic definition. Now, the second is the causes. What are the causes of global warming? Why is global warming caused? You need to think like this in your brain. Simple points: burning of fossil fuels, worldwide deforestation, variation in solar energy. Now, 2 of it is man-made and 1 is natural. Number 3 is effects. What are the effects? Why is it of concern? Sudden melting of glaciers causing floods. Flood is devastating. Now, global warming is resulting in floods. It's causing devastation, catastrophe. And next is sudden rise in famines and droughts. People don't get to eat at times because of global warming, because sudden rise in famines because the global temperature changes. Now, what are the solutions that I can think about it? Widespread afforestation. Just as I said, the cause is deforestation. What is opposite to it? Afforestation. Next is divest from coal producing sources, which already many countries are trying to do. Coal is one of the coal produces carbon dioxide, which is a global warming gas, which is why it is very necessary to reduce the carbon emission and use public transport. Just as I said, reduce carbon emission. Public transport requires carbon emission. Private transport requires carbon emission. So for that to reduce, we need to use public transports. Pool cars. Next is the applied solutions. IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, was formed by the United Nations organization to look after the climate change issue. It recognized climate change as one of the most important issues to be recognized right now. It was formed and it gives regular reports on the changes in climate change. There are scientific data that are being given and how to solve the problems. Next is the various global summits. You'll find the Global Summit on Climate Change, which happened recently in France, in which they discussed the climate control pacts. You need to give real world examples while giving a speech. The better reference you give, the better way you connect to the speaker. the better we connect with the audience. The speaker connects with the audience well with better references. Next is several afforestation movements. Like in India, we have got the Bishnoi movement, Chipko movement, which surely everyone has listened about, the Silent Valley movement, and there are various such movements. I believe in today's date, there is no less space for optimism. The world is quite optimistic. Good things are happening if you look at it. So now, what do we get from here is prepare upon the topics point by point. As you take it point by point, the listeners can understand it better. If you make paragraphs, long lectures, the listener might lose the attention. So make it as short, as brief as possible. And you must have clearer knowledge about what you are speaking. And if you make it point-wise, you don't have to study a lot. Just that simple points, speak it in your own way. Next up is the sin of monotony. Now, before beginning on this, we are taking questions. You can submit it to the host in the Zoom chat box, which we will be trying to answer at the end of the public speaking course before we start day-to-day conversations. Number two, now we can continue, is the sin of monotony. What is monotony? Being the same, speaking very dully, speaking the same. Beware of monotony. It's the mother of all deadly sins, Edith Wharton. And it is quite true. What are the effects of monotony that is on the audience? You lose the audience's interest. A person who is speaking in the same tone loses the audience's interest. The audience doesn't pay attention because they lose their concentration with the same thing happening. Monotony is the real communication killer. It is often found that an introvert is the person who is monotonous. Monotonous people are perceived as unreliable and boring. A person who is monotonous is always unreliable because any task you give them, it is not they don't want to do it, but maybe they are unable to do it. They are unable to persuade people because they don't have the skills. But skills are all the way man-made, so we can achieve it from this webinar, for example, and they are often perceived as boring. Next one is you fail to express the real meaning of your speech. You'll often find that there is one statement said in many different forms. Now, a monotonous person is going to say it in the very plain form. Now, a good speaker is going to say it in the best of form. You'll understand more than what the words literally means. For example, let us take a few examples. But before that, we are going to the monotony elimination toolkit. We have made a toolkit, 3 points specifically. First is emphasis. What a lot of us don't do is we don't emphasize on particular words. We speak very dully, very plainly. We need to emphasize on the important words so that the audience who is listening can understand. He gets to concentrate more on that very particular word. The next one is pause and power. We forget punctuation marks. We need to pause before punctuation marks and then power ahead. Next is pace. We need to alter our pace from very fast to very slow. Once we do that, the audience will get more concentration because something different is happening from what it has been happening so far. Next up, we start with an example for emphasis. This is a sentence. I am going to read it as a monotonous reader would do. It says, destiny is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. Now, very dull it was, because I had no emphasis. Now, what is the right way? You can look at your screens. It is, destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. We focus on the words that give the complete meaning of the sentence. We can forget the prepositions because they are necessary grammatically, but without prepositions, we can understand the main meaning of the sentence. For example, the words destiny, not chance, which means destiny is not chance, and it is a matter of choice. Destiny is not chance, but choice. Destiny is not a matter of chance, but choice. Focus on destiny, not, because it is very specific, not, and chance. It is not chance, and focus on choice, which means it is choice. Just 4 words in a sentence. In 2 sentences, there are just 4 words to emphasize, and that gives the perfect meaning of the sentence. We'll get another example, which says, my horse is not black, he is pale white. There are the certain characteristics, the certain specification. What is it? What is the object? The object is a horse. What is the characteristics? It's not black. But what is it? It is pale white. These are the certain characteristics of the horse. Now, another example we are going to give, that is this long statement. I'm going to read it so that you understand how to emphasize properly. We do not know what the president thought, but when he got the message, or what the elephant thinks when he sees the mouse. But what we do know is what the president did. We are emphasizing on we are making comparisons what about elephants and the mouse. We don't know what the elephant thinks of when he sees a mouse. Similarly, the president is right now the mouse, which the elephant, which means the person who is speaking, is seeing. So the person is seeing the president just as the elephant sees the mouse. So we don't know what the president thought, but we do know what he did right now. Next up, I can assure you this is what you might have never done in your life. There's this simple sentence. All right, picture this. I intended to buy a house this spring. If I say it very dully, it means that I don't have interest in it, which means that I intended to buy the house. I'm saying it very dully, which means I don't have interest, right? Which means the inner meaning can be that I didn't even intend. I'm just pretending that I intended. But the next ones are more interesting. It says, I intended to buy a house this spring. The proper emphasis on the word intended. Now, if you emphasize on the word intended, the inner meaning comes that you intended, but what something must have prevented you, because you're not the owner right now. So the sentence is very similar. It's very plain that I intended to buy a house this spring, just that. But the emphasis on intended gives the inner meaning. A good speaker and a good listener is the best pair. A good listener will always get the inner meaning, which a good speaker has to tell him. Intended. Focus on intended so that the person can get that you mean the opposite didn't happen. I intended to buy a house this spring. Next sentence is, I intended to buy a house this spring. You focus on buy, which means you don't mean the opposite. You mean just the word buy. And you can forget the other words because you basically mean buy. What is the opposite of buying? Renting a house. He didn't intend to rent the house. He wanted specifically to buy it. A good speaker will emphasize on buy. A good listener will get the inner meaning instead of renting. He didn't want to rent the house. Maybe he had the options of renting, but he specifically wanted to buy the house. Next is the emphasis on house. What is the object you're buying? I intended to buy a house this spring. It means that you didn't intend to buy an automobile or anything else. You didn't intend to buy a pen or anything. Just take an example. You intended specifically to buy a house. Next up is this spring. This. I intended to buy a house this spring, which means not the next spring, this year. I intended to buy a house this spring, which means you probably had a good offer this year, maybe a discount this year, it was on sale. The next year it might not be. So this very particular year, this spring. The last one is, I intended to buy a house this spring. What is the opposite of spring? Autumn. We can get the other months as well, summer and winter, which means I intended to buy a house this very particular spring, not the other seasons. Maybe I wanted to spend the spring vacations there, which is why I intended to buy the house this particular spring. Now, I would again remind everyone to make notes of it so that you can ask better questions. We move on to pace. Everyone in their life have their own pace. Now, if you run at the same pace, you won't get different results. Now, if you are getting good results, it's very good. Follow this to get even better results. If you're not, then you need to change your pace. Maybe you need to change your pace while studying. You are a very slow reader. You need to speed it up. Similarly, a good speaker, if I'm talking about, you need to change your pace while speaking. How exactly? See, here's the example. There's a poet, this is the stanza from a poem which says, when you and I behind the veil are past, but the long while the world shall last. Which of our coming and departure heeds, as the seven seas should heed a pebble cast. The proper pace, the pace is lower down in long while. The poet in this stanza wants to specifically want the reader to emphasize on long. He just wants to deliver that long period, Maybe he wants to demonstrate the emotion between the two people that are separated. So the long while, the long duration. So pace it down. All right. If you're a fast speaker, pace down where you don't speak. Suppose I'm a very fast speaker, all right, and I want to emphasize on something. What I need to do is I need to lower down my voice. I need to speak slowly now, as I did in long while the world shall last. Now, if I'm a very slow speaker, you need to speed up. On that very word, you need to give the emphasis on. Another example. You can look at it, the words that needs to be slowly read are capitalized. It is true worth is in being, not seeming. In doing each day that goes by some little good, not in dreaming of great things to do by and by. For whatever men say in their blindness, and in spite of their follies of youth, there is nothing so kingly as kindness, and nothing so royal as truth. By Anonymous. Now, in this particular sentence, you need to lower down your pace, a true worth, because you need to emphasize on that very particularly. What are you talking about? You're talking about true worth, the worthiness of a person. What is the true worthiness of a person in? It is in being, in doing, not in just pretending, not in just seeming. Now, in each day that goes by some little good, each day we are doing some little good, it is not in dreaming of great things. We'll often find people dream of great things that I'll be doing, but they don't actually do. Which says that true worth of a person is in doing, not of dreaming of great things, not just pretending. For whatever men say, and by men that he means people, whatever people say in their blindness, when they are unconscious mentally, in spite of the follies of their youth, it is often said that youth, the word emphasized with youth is haste. We don't focus, we don't concentrate in our youth. So, in whatever the follies of youth might be, we don't emphasize. We just start dreaming, all right? And we just start dreaming and we forget the worthiness. And in the last line, it is being said that nothing is as kingly, as good, as high as a king, as kindness, be kind, and nothing as royal. We often like the words royal and kingly. These are two big words. Everyone wants to be a king. Everyone wants to be a royal. So how to be that? Be kind, be truthful. That is a very easy way to do that. We move on to the last portion of this, which is pause and power. We often forget pause and power. Now, what does a pause and power do? Whenever you pause, the mind of the speaker, suppose I'm speaking right now, if I pause for a moment, it is not my awkwardness, it is not my nervousness. I can pause for just thinking, and I can get the proper word, I can get the force, I can hold my breath then, so that I deliver the final volley, the best word I can find. Here we continue. Yes, it is pause enables the mind of the speaker to gather the force before delivering the final volley. If you pause for a moment, you get to think. Now, if you're thinking, it enables you to think about the proper word that you want to deliver. We are sorry for the delay, sorry. Yes, we continue to the point number 2. It is pause prepares the mind of the auditor to receive your message. Often at times you'll find that a speaker is going too fast. He's speaking for a very long duration. If you pause, even the auditor, the receiver, his brain will stop thinking for a moment. All right, it will refresh itself just as the computer does, and he'll get ready to get the final volley that you're going to deliver, the final word, the final great word. You'll often find a good speaker ends up with a quote, or maybe doesn't end up with a quote. He ends up with a good statement that becomes a quote. For that, you need that pause. Number 3 is a good pause creates effective suspense. Suppose you're a good storyteller. Now you're telling a good story and you pause for a while. This creates effective suspense. The person who's listening will have that mystery in his mind of what next is the person going to say. He gets it ready. Number 4 is pause after an important idea gives it time to penetrate. Suppose you made a very important point, something that is new to the people. And if you give a pause, they think about it. Don't go in the flow every time. Just let it settle down. Let the idea settle down in the mind of the receiver. In the mind of a receiver, let it settle down. So you need that pause so that he can think himself. All right. Next up, we got an example of pause and power. Follow the punctuation marks and how I repeat after how I read the words before and after the punctuation marks, and what is the pause I am keeping during the punctuation marks. Punctuation marks are very important in a good statement. The sentence reads like this: At last, the Republican Party has appeared. It arose. Now, as the Republican Party of 1800 did, in one word, its faith and its works. Equal and exact justice to all men. Even when it first entered the field, only half organized, it struck a blow which only just failed to secure complete and triumphant victory. Now, what is the pattern that you'll recognize? Whenever there is a word before the full stop, you need to emphasize a lot. You need to give that extra power in that word. Whenever the word comes after the comma, you need to give a bit more power in that word after the comma. Now, where do we need to lower down? The word before the comma. You need to lower down specifically at the words before the comma. For example, at last. You can say that with a sigh, at last. And then you can emphasize on the Republican Party, like that. Now, it is the point number 3. It is a short one, ordinary vocabulary. Now, this is what we suffer from. Everybody, we have the lack of words. We can't express ourselves. We have got the emotions, but we can't express ourselves. It is said, and I don't know, the person who has said this is quite famous. He says, actually, she says, words are, in not my humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic. Guess who? It's J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She says, redeem vocabulary. How do we get a good vocabulary? There is a very good thing that Roald Dahl said in his poem, The Television, that read, read, and read. Now, yes, it was very good in ancient times, but in today's day, this pattern has changed. It is no more read, read, and read. It has changed to read, listen, and then speak. These 3 points. Reading is still the same, but you need to listen, because in today's date, many people have got a lot of information. People are more informed in today's date, and then you need to speak so that you can spread the information you have to others, and you can develop that confidence in you. You can use the words. It is often said that if you don't use the words you already know, you tend to forget them. Now, if you need to remember, use them. For using them, speak up. So instead of read, read, and read, it is read, listen, and speak. Now, there is a tip from our side, that is open the dictionary daily. And by daily, I mean every day at a random page. A dictionary is full of pages. Open it at a random page and look for just 5 new words. It will take hardly 10 minutes. So just look for 5 new words. Take a diary, just pen down those 5 new words and their meanings. And let me tell you, sooner or later, the dictionary might be short of words. You'll have even good vocabulary than the dictionary if you do that. Yes, it will take time, but that day will surely come if you follow it daily. Now, before we go on to the 4th point, that is core interaction, we are open to questions. Anybody who has got any questions, please, you can unmute your mic and you can ask us, or you can text in the Zoom box. If there is any point that you skipped, or if I was at a better pace, I can repeat the points for you. Anyone who's got any questions so far? Anyone? No one has got any questions? All right, we'll continue and we'll get another break for the questions. Poor interaction. There's a quote which says, use every interaction to be the best, the most powerful version of yourself. It is said by Marianne Williamson. It says, poor interaction. Now, how to deal with poor interaction? There is 2 steps. First of all, Bhaskar sir just said in the introduction about poor interaction, how to deal with it, how to look in the eyes with the people, how to maintain eye contact, how to maintain a proper body posture. Now, during a virtual meeting, the body posture, we can't maintain it because people can barely see us. But during a physical environment, people watch us and they watch us very keenly. So have a good body posture. But here we are giving some different tips. Number 1 is the 3-second and the 5-second rules. Both of these rules are scientifically proven, which says whenever you address an audience, a mass audience, at least try to maintain at least 3-second eye contact with everyone within your vision reach. Suppose whoever is sitting in the front row, maintain at least 3 seconds of eye contact with them. The ones who seems more excited and thrilled by your speech, give them more attention. Because the more attention you give to people, the more you will receive. Look at them for at least 5 seconds, but never stare at them. Staring makes a person uneasy. So maintain 3 seconds for a normal audience, 5 seconds for the person who are more experienced, for the person who are more excited and more thrilled to listen to you, who like your speech, 5 seconds. But remember, do not stare. Do not stare at them. Next up is maintaining proper body posture. It is avoid stiffness in the body. Now, how can you avoid stiffness? Even if you're nervous, you can use that as a positive motion. How? Show your palms. Whenever you speak, you have to show your palms so that people, that's a scientific data that the people who show their palms are considered more confident, they are considered more reliable and more trustworthy. If you don't show your palms, if you're stiff, if you stay stiff, it is a sign of negativity. Open up. Don't be underconfident. Maybe you are underconfident. The person in front of you doesn't know, and he doesn't have to know unless you show them. All right, open up your bit. Express, use your hand gestures. Suppose you're explaining something. Maybe it's very simple, but use your hand gestures. Anything. It can be waving your hand. It can be rotating your hands. Anything that suits you. Never look down. If you look down, it's very underconfident. Look at them. Face the audience. Look at them. And always believe as if it's your home crowd. You already know everyone. Everyone is going to be friendly with you. All right? Have that conception in your mind. So look at them. Face them directly. Never look down. Remember, never ever look down. Because the moment you look down, you are not attending to anyone except the bare floor. And the floor is not going to give you any attention. Give attention so that you'll receive attention. So give attention for that. Never look down. Look in front of you. All right. Just have a glance on over everyone that is present there. Now here we end up with the public speaking. It was very brief, and maybe I think I was a bit faster than I should have been. Anyone who has missed any points, please, you can ask the questions to repeat, or any questions that you have got. The chat box is enabled now. Anyone, any points, any questions? Yes, we have got one question. The question is that the question says, why do inexperienced speakers tend to be underconfident? Because they don't practice. They lack confidence because they don't have the practice. This is just like your regular examinations. Suppose you're in an examination period. Now, if you practice a lot before the examination, if you study a lot, you'll get that confidence. All right. Now, if you don't study, if you don't practice before the examination, you tend to lose confidence. All right. So that is the very easy thing, that practice confidence and you'll get more confidence. And the next is from Prachi. She says, how will we get to know who is interested in listening to us and who is not? All right. This is a very good question. How do we know? We don't have superpowers. We can't read minds. We're not a mentalist. But how do we understand? This is by body gestures. A person who is attending to you, a person who is looking to you continuously. Suppose there is a person who is looking otherwise when you're speaking. All right, there's two person in a room. There's an interview is going on. Someone is speaking, but the other person is looking other ways, which means he's not interested. Maybe the problem is in you, that you're not speaking something that interests him, or maybe that's his natural nature. That is the very easy way that you get to understand who is interested and who is not, by their public gestures, by their face gestures and everything, by their movement, basically by their eye contact. That's a scientific data as well. We'll take the next question if there is. You can unmute your mic as well if you want. We can take direct questions. We can interact directly. That would be an even better way of conversation. Anyone? Yes, I've got a question. Tell me about yourself. Question in an interview. How to answer this? Yes, Kaushal, I'm coming to you. There's another question that has come. That how to introduce yourself during an interview. Now, you'll find many topics on this. All right, this depends on the interviewer as well, about the stage. Like the seriousness of the answer needs to change as soon as the way your post increases. How? Let me tell you. If the interview is very frank, you can tell about your hobbies, you can tell about your interests. But if the interview is formal, tell about your achievements, tell about your motivation. Why are we doing that? And first up, introduce with your proper name. All right, don't use contradiction. Don't use the acronyms. Don't say I am. Use proper I am, not I am. All right, don't use these contradictions. Always be very formal if it's a formal interview. If it's rather frank, you can simply speak with them just as you do with your friend. Yes, Kaushal, what's your question now? Kaushal? All right, I think he's disconnected. Anyone has got any question that we can take right now from the presentation that we have shown so far? Any part that you want us to repeat again? Or if you want a complete brief description of the entire presentation so far, we can do that as well. Anyone, any questions so far? Anybody? Yes, one is from Adrita. She says, how to increase attention of people who are not ready to listen to us. All right, I'll tell you, amaze them. Tell something they would never expect. All right, this can be anything. Now for this, if you know the person, then that's going to be easier. Now, if you don't know that person, then that's going to be a bit tough. All right, amaze them. How? Suppose someone is interested in science. Tell him a science fact that you suppose that he might not know. And if he really doesn't know, then that's a jackpot. He's going to listen to you more attentively because you're going to give him more information that he really desires. All right. Next is from Sandhini again. She says, it was just said that the speakers staring at the audience, they make them feel uneasy. Yes. But what if the audience stare at us, make us feel uneasy? Should we stop making eye contact then? Or should we stare ahead? All right. To be honest, whenever you go to a public speak, I said, let it be your home tour, your home ground. All right. And in that situation, people stare at you because they are more excited to listen to you. They have got more expectations from you. They stare in the expectation of getting something new information. So yes, it's completely natural if someone stares at you, but as I said, don't stare back at them because they are the ones we need to treat with complete civility. Maybe they don't treat us like that. It's fine. Maybe they don't mean to do that, but it's their nature. It's completely fine. But what you can do instead is you can just normal have the 3 second and the 5 second eye contact. Don't stare at them back. Next question we have is, if we have any speech instantly, how to prepare that speech instant? All right. In instant speeches, you get 5 to 10 minutes, I suppose. Suppose the extempo speech in the assembly. If I take that example, how to prepare that? Now, most of the time, the topics of the extempo speech are known to you. You need to formulate that in your mind. You need to merge everything. You need to arrange and merge everything properly in the order. That what am I going to say? Like, suppose I'm going to give an extempo speech on global warming. All right. Now, what if I jumble up? What if I start with the causes and then I go to the definition? So that's going to be a problem. How to deal with that? Very easy. Let me tell you. Be well informed. All right. Clear this up. Don't jumble things in your head. Just clear this. Be calm. Be very calm in that moment. Try to drink water and then think about the topic. All right. Always think that I've got a lot of time, because it always happens that we lose a lot of time during that moment of panic. We lose a lot of time while panicking. Instead, we could think in that moment. Think very calmly. Think like a monk. As Jay Shetty's new book says, think like a monk. A monk is very calm. He thinks. Maybe he's in the worst of situations, but he finds solutions. Now, what is your problem in this situation? A speech on global warming, suppose. You can think. You know about the topic. Now, if you don't know, then as I said, read at least, try to read 1 to 5 topics daily. Some topics you should have your basic information on. Read that daily. Already you'll get more information. More information will make you more confident, I suppose. Next question is it really important to force people to listen to us whenever we speak, or ignorance would be good? It depends upon your nature. Why am I saying your nature? Suppose you are a person who wants others. You're an attention craver. You want others to listen to you. And if you feel that what you're saying, suppose someone is a student activist, because activism is good, youth activism is even better. Now, if you feel that something really needs importance, and then you have to force him to do that, force him to listen. You can't force a physical activity, but you can force him to listen to you. Maybe he won't like, maybe he doesn't want, but try to get as much as attention of his as possible. Because maybe it's possible that what you're going to say, he already knows, but it is a complete possibility that he doesn't know completely. He knows some part of it, the others he doesn't. And the other part is going to amaze him, going to develop more importance for you. Yes, someone was raising their hand. Someone was raising their hand. They wanted to ask a question directly. What is it? I think it was Drija or Kaushik. Someone was there. Anyone? All right. We have got one question which says, how to approach your first MUN? In my experience, I've just attended 2 MUNs, but how to approach your MUNs, that is modern United Nations, it is just like a parliament or a general assembly in the United Nations Council. In that, you need to study a lot about the topic, and the post you are designated, you need to study about that very particular person when you approach an MUN, so that you get the proper example, the proper knowledge about the background of that person and the background of that topic. Read history of that topic. Often at times we go in symbolism. Like, for example, there are a lot of words that mean something different, but in today's date, people use it differently. Read the history, what it actually meant, and how people are using it in today's days. Now, if they are using it wrong, correct them. So that's how you approach your first model United Nations, I feel. Yes, so the question is how to get out of the awkwardness whenever we make a mistake while speaking. All right. Right now, when I'm speaking, I've made many mistakes. All right. And how to just forget it, ignore them. As I said, feel the crowd as your home ground. Now you'll find one thing in cricket that's very interesting, that players tend to perform better in front of their home crowd. Now suppose a player comes from Ranchi, Dhoni's performance in Ranchi is better. Dhoni's performance in Chennai is better, that because it's his second home. Similarly, you try and absorb the crowd's pressure. How to absorb pressure? That's very simple. Ignore your fallacies right now. Remember them when the webinar is done. Think about it so that the next time you don't come into it. But in that very exact moment, don't feel awkward, just ignore it. All right, I made a mistake, but still the people are interested. Just feel that they have that conception in your mind and you'll do great. The question is, even if we practice speaking to ourselves in front of the mirror or somewhere isolated, at that time we don't tend to worry about my opinion because we are speaking to ourselves. So no case of worries. Agreed? But it becomes completely different by speaking to someone or conversing with someone else. Like if we make a mistake, that they are either going to judge or make their own opinion. So how do we stop worrying about others' opinion about our speech? Okay. Again, I will repeat the same thing, that think the crowd as your home ground. All right. Some people have the habit of judging others, which shouldn't be there. But if someone judges you, ignore it. All right. There's a subtle art of ignoring people when it's not required. Ignore them. All right. They have an opinion. Everyone is entitled to have an opinion, just like you are in your case. So, all right, I can have a different opinion. You can have a different opinion, but it's a democracy. We can converse. All right. You should not formulate results from the very first expression you have of a person. If you have an opinion, stand on it if you feel it is right. Don't care about others' opinions that comes in your way at that very moment. Now, is there any further questions? Anyone who wants to speak up? Have direct conversation right now? Yes, there is a question which says that what if we get insulted while interacting with someone? Okay, insult, it's a very subjective matter according to me. All right, if someone says that you're tall, it's an insult for someone. He says that he's insulting me based upon my height. If someone says that I'm tall, someone might take it as a compliment and another person would simply ignore it. It's fine. I'm tall, that's truth, and it's fine. So how to deal with insults during a public speech is being confident enough of what you are speaking. All right, I'm delivering this speech right now. Someone here might think that whatever I've said is very basic. It is not worth it. All right, he might try to insult me, but it is upon me whether I take the insult or not. If I don't take it as an insult, it's completely fine. We are there. We have got two more questions. Nowadays we are getting addicted to mobile phones. So can you please tell me how to get out of this addiction? We'll try to answer that at the end of the question. All right. Sandhini says that as an intermediate speaker, should we practice not making up our points early and just practice creating points on the very spot? Do you think it will increase our thinking efficiency? Well, you need to practice both. How exactly? You need to make both public speeches, that is prepared address, and as well as an extempo speech. An extempo speech will put more pressure. It will increase your brain productivity skills. But at the same time, if you prepare a speech, it will increase your information. Now, suppose right now I'm delivering a speech on global warming. I've prepared it. A week later, I have to give it as an extempo. Already have done it before as a prepared speech. So I've got the information. All right. So I can deliver it even better. So my suggestion would be do both. Have a prepared speech ready as well as give an extempo speech. Another question, and I think it will be the last one, that if we are about to give a formal speech, what can we do to keep the audience interested? Well, have total knowledge about the topic that you're going to speak. If it's a very formal conversation, have complete idea of what you're speaking. All right. Never for a moment, you should not miss a single point about what you're speaking. You should have the complete idea in your mind. You should know about, you should be well informed to be a good speaker. And I'm saying that very strictly. If you need to be a good speaker, be first well informed about that topic. Yes. All right. Next question is, I am very nervous while talking to someone or giving speech or reading a book in front of someone. How to get confidence? All right, we just said practice. Practice confidence. If you practice confidence more and more, all right, you will tend to lose that feeling of being edgy. You will lose that nervousness. It's completely good. It's actually great if you practice, practice, and practice. Practice makes a man perfect. It's a very good proverb. Do that. All right, you won't get nervous. Even if you're reading a book in front of anyone, do one thing. Suppose you get a book. All right, suppose I have to narrate a book, say Pride and Prejudice. All right, what I can do is simply I can read it before. I can read this book beforehand. I can make suggestions to myself. Now, if you give a speech, prepare it beforehand. All right, try to give prepared speech first and then extempo speeches, because extempo speeches are harder than a normal speech, than a prepared speech. Extempo speeches are way harder, trust me. All right, so now we can move on to the presentation, because there's a lot more left. If you have missed any questions, we'll get to that later on. All right, to move on now to the next part in the presentation. The next part is day-to-day or spontaneous conversations. How to increase our productivity, how to be better how to be better in a conversation, how to have fruitful conversations. And Moro Limburg says, a good conversation is as stimulating as black coffee and just as hard to sleep after. Which is, if you say something that inspires someone, it is as stimulating as black coffee. It is as hard as black coffee. And still, even if you sleep after the conversation is done, you keep on thinking about it. A good conversation is exactly like that. Trust me again. Now, again, the table of contents. The number one is agree to disagree. All right. You don't have to prove a point every time. Agree to disagree. Number two is use non-specific questions. We are going to that slowly. Number three is be brief. You don't need to elaborate everything every time. Be short. We are getting to that as well. And number four is be in the present. First up, we move to agree to disagree. There's a word dogmatism. Now, the word might sound harsh, but people are called dogmatic when they impose their opinions about others. Suppose someone has got some particular political opinion, or someone has got an opinion about a person, and other doesn't. The other person has a contradicting opinion. It's completely fine to have various opinions, to have the difference in opinions, but do not impose. What you know is not the final thing. Every time you get into a conversation, you are going to learn. So, number one, how agree to disagree. So, all right, guess this person who said, honest disagreement is often a good sign of success. It's an Indian and it is Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, an honest disagreement is often a good sign of success. Have an honest disagreement. It's completely fine if you disagree. There's nothing wrong in it. What it says is how to avoid dogmatism. Just as I explained what dogmatism is, now how to avoid being of such nature. You can change this nature. You can have this habit of changing natures. How to do that? Point by point, we are going to explain it now. All right, make a point. Make a point. Don't start preaching others. You're not a preacher. You're just a person who is getting into a normal conversation. You might have a point. You might know about the topic a lot, but still don't start preaching others. Don't start informing others so that they get impressed by you. All right, make a point, be brief, that's it. It depends upon the person who is listening, how well he reacts to that point. You don't have to define that. Don't expect that from anyone. Allow others to respond and contradict you. How exactly? Let me tell you. Suppose I make a point about, I have a political opinion that the present government is not doing good. Or say I have the opinion that the present government is doing excellent. The other has got the opinion that no, it is doing great or it is not doing great, which is completely fine. We have got our mindset, our method of viewing people. All right. So allow others to respond to these situations. Now, if you don't allow any space for contradictions, then you are being dogmatic. Don't do that. Allow others to contradict you. All right. That's the best form of a healthy debate as well. Allow others to respond, Now understand what he's saying. If you feel that he's wrong anywhere, fine, tell him where exactly he is wrong. Number 3 is agree to disagree. That is the topic as well. That is respect others' opinions if you believe the person is wrong. If you believe I have got a wrong stance about the government, it's completely fine. It's the government you are against. It's not me or not the supporters. The government is one thing. We don't need to be divided just because we have different opinions. People with completely different opinions can be great friends, and there are many examples of that. Try to be another example of it. Final point is take the conversation to the right track or leave it. Suppose I'm having a conversation on government policies and that conversation goes on in a different position, all right? Or that conversation goes on in a different track. It's completely diverting. Then bring it to the right track. Don't expect others to do that. Now, if you try to do that and still you fail, if others are not listening to you, it's fine enough to leave the conversation. Just leave the conversation. You don't have to be present every time. As simple as that. Point number 2, which is use non-specific questions. All right. Good answers inform, but a good question transforms a person. Quite right said by Ken Coleman. A good answer informs people. Maybe I'm answering you right now. This is informing you. But if you're asking me a good question, something that has never been asked before, this transforms the mindset. This let others people think in that mindset so that they can question me as well. They can question authority as well, which is very necessary in a democracy. What is it? Let us explain. How to use open-ended questions. It's very simple. Be prepared to be amazed in a conversation. I said this quite a time before. I'm repeating it again. Be prepared to be amazed in a conversation. All right. Now, many of us have this idea that suppose I'm going into a debate and I've already formulated in my mind that this person is going to make this very particular point. Don't do that. Just let him speak so that you clear up your mind. All right, you get the perfect idea of what he's actually speaking, of what not. Often at times, let me explain. I'm fumbling a bit, I know. Right. So often at times, say I'm having one political opinion. It's completely fine to have one political opinion. This doesn't define my other opinions. Maybe you know something about the person, it's fine, but you don't know the complete person. So be prepared to be amazed. Maybe you believe that this person has got a wrong opinion about this thing. This doesn't make him wrong. Maybe he's good in all the other things. Be prepared to be amazed, to be surprised a lot. Next is do not put adjectives to your questions. Keep it open-ended and simple. Keep it open-ended and simple. How? Suppose there is a question, say, suppose I went to Kolkata, and someone asked me a question that how bad was the weather in Kolkata? He's already of the judgment that the weather must be bad. He's asking me what was the intensity. Maybe the weather was excellent. So don't put adjectives. Don't use the word bad. Just ask him how the weather was. Let the person in front of you elaborate, because it is them that matters, not you. It is not your question that matters first. It's their answer and then your question. The hierarchy should be maintained every time. Give them importance so that you'll receive importance. But you need to give them importance first. Next up is, if you're surprised by an answer, feel free to ask more about it. It's never embarrassing to know. Like, suppose if I'm informing you about something, say I'm informing you that how good the government is or how bad the government is, or I'm informing you how good a book is. Suppose I've got a book, as I just showed, Pride and Prejudice. Many might find it a boring book. Say it's romance, it's boring. I might change your idea about romance, about Jane Austen. So if you're surprised, feel free to show it. Feel others that, yes, I'm surprised. There's no point in stopping your emotions to come. It's quite natural. We are all humans. And now, if you don't know about Pride and Prejudice or whatever you're talking about, ask him. Ask him more questions that, yes, what is it about? I don't know about it. All right. Suppose you don't know the meaning of a word. Don't feel embarrassed that he's going to judge me. It's not about him who is judging. It's about you, how you take it. So if you feel it embarrassing, Don't feel it. Simple answer is don't feel embarrassing in any moment. It's not the person who is going to embarrass you, but you who is going to feel embarrassed. Don't feel it. Simply ignore that feeling. All right, you should develop this habit of ignoring sometimes. You don't have to be struck by everything that comes in your way. Now, if you're surprised, show your surprise, show that emotion, ask more about it. This will increase your friendliness with that person. Next up, point number 3 is be brief. There's a very good quote which says, the most valuable of all talents is that of never using two words when one will do, by Thomas Jefferson. He's an English author. He said that if you can complete the sentence in one, then why make it two? If you can explain a thing in 2 words, in 1 word, then why use 2 words? Just do it in 1 word. As simple as that. Be as short as, once someone said time is money, don't waste it. Similarly, if you use 2 words, you're wasting time. Just use 1 word. Save time, and you will get more importance. How exactly? How to be brief. Point number 1, be silent when you don't have anything new to bring to the table. What does this mean? Suppose I am having a conversation with a person, all right? He just mentioned the point that I'm about to say, and I feel as if it's a missed opportunity. No, it's not. If you don't have anything new to say now, if you don't know about the topic, remain silent or ask about it. But you don't have to speak about it. Just ask. Don't speak. Asking and speaking is quite different. Ask in a way as if you really want to get informed, as if you really want the information, not to give an impression of yours in front of the person. Next one is stop repeating yourself if you have nothing new. You'll often find many people in your life that repeat the same thing again, and again. You've heard them like 1,000 times. You've heard the same thing from that very same person. That makes him boring, even monotonous, that he's repeating the same thing again, and again. Why? Stop doing that. Don't repeat. People have got your point. If it's worthy, they will acknowledge it. If it's not, try improving your point. All right, don't say that it is him who is wrong. Find faults in your speech, that maybe I could have done this even better. Maybe you've done good. Find ways to do it even better. Find ways to perfection, and you'll at least achieve the best. That is what I would say right now. Point number 3 is, it is always agreeable to listen to others, so that the next time you get into a public discussion, you don't have you can use the aforesaid points. What I mean by this is very simple. Suppose we are having a conversation on a topic you don't know. Suppose there is a topic, say, about MUNs, about model United Nations. I'm pretty sure there are a few students who might not know about it. All right, it's fine. Listen to others. Listen very carefully, so that the next time you're in an environment where MUN is being talking about, Model United Nations is the topic. The simple thing you can do is you can repeat what you have heard earlier. All right. You can simply repeat what you have heard earlier from the very person. And the people don't know that you have heard it from somewhere else, but it's completely fine to inform other information. After all, information spread is information increased. Next up is how to be in the present moment. Be in the present. Don't multitask. Often at times it's just like an online class, if I can joke about it, that people are physically present, but they are mentally absent in that class. How? Attention is the rarest and the purest form of generosity. It is said by Simon Well. And the moral code says that we should always be generous towards others. Be generous in your perspective. Be generous in your way of talking to others. Give them attention. Be in the present moment. Attention is very simple to give, but it is still the rarest and the purest form of generosity. Think about it. Think. How to be in the present. Focus simply on the speaker and what he's saying. Don't look other ways. All right, just look at him. Focus on what he's saying. Try to think about what he's saying, what you already know about him, what you have heard about it. Think about the speaker and the topic he's saying. Just that, nothing else. Make points based on what you listen and not what you remember. What do I mean by this? Very simple. You will often get into a conversation where you have listened something, all right, and you already, suppose in this particular webinar, you already know something about the topic, public speaking, and you're remembering that. You're trying to remember that again and again. Don't do that. Forget it. Forget it for the very moment. Listen. Suppose I'm talking right now. Listen to me, and whatever I'm saying, maybe what you already know is it's already being said. And if you repeat it again, this will make a fool of yourself. So don't do that. Listen to what the speaker is saying and not what you remember. Forget what you remember for that very moment. Give attention to the person in front of you. As simple as that. Next is make space in the mind palace, as Sherlock Holmes says, for new information, even if it contradicts with the older ones. Now, suppose if someone told you that who invented zero, it would be Aryabhatta. And what if I said it was Brahmagupta? It's something new. It contradicts your information. You know the information who invented zero, Aryabhatta. Who invented zero, I'm saying Brahmagupta. It's contradicting. All right, you won't accept it. Try to accept this new information in your mind palace, in your brain, in your memory storage. All right, so that the new information that is being given, you can have that as well. Right now, we end up the daily conversations. We have got a few extras in the webinar. So we are going to take the previous questions as well as the new questions. So anyone who has got the questions can ask it now. You can unmute your mic or you can use the Zoom chat box as well. All right, it is just to inform the participants who have signed up for the webinar are supposed to get the link to the free audiobook and the ebook that they ordered. After this webinar, do check your email to find the book that you have ordered. All right, we have got the first question. It is, sometimes people just start analyzing so critically, yes, they do, that it just becomes very likely that we might sometimes break down before the speech is even completed. Yes, we can. Sometimes it's just hard to ignore that person. Well, it's not hard to ignore anyone. All right, it's good to be self-centered. The moment is yours when you're speaking. All right, don't focus on others. The moment is yours. Focus on yourself. It's very important. So now, if I say that people analyze critically, yes, they do. People judge. It's wrong, they shouldn't do, but you can't change how people react to situations. It's completely natural of them to do that. So how do we ignore them? There's a book by Mark Manson. I won't say the name, it's a bit inappropriate. It goes by The Subtle Art of Ignoring People. The subtle art of ignoring people. So what we can basically do is we can ignore people. We don't have to attend to everyone. All right, we need to attend to the topic, not the person. What matters is the information in that very moment, not the person who is receiving it. So focus on the information. If someone judges you on the information you're giving, it's fine. Ask him for further information if he knows more. If he knows more, listen to him. Simple as that. Yes, the next question is, suppose I'm speaking to a person and he accidentally speaks some points which are completely wrong and he's not aware of it. Should I convince him that he's wrong or should I ignore it and let him speak further? Right. Let me divide this question into two parts. All right. Now, should I convince him that he's wrong? Yes, you should try to convince him. Now, as I said, people, they don't agree to you always. You know, Bruce Lee said a very famous quote that never correct a fool. You can try very well, but you don't have to correct a fool. You try to convince him that he is wrong. If you're confident yourself, you try to convince him that, yes, what you're saying is factually wrong, or maybe you're wrong in this situation. All right. And if he doesn't want to listen to you, forget it. All right. You don't have to correct him in that situation. Just forget it. Now, the second part is, should I ignore him and let him speak further? Let him complete, All right, let him make as many fallacies as he makes during his statements. It's completely natural for people. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Don't heckle, because that's unmannerly. All right, let him complete. Once he does, all right, once it is your chance to speak, use it to the fullest. All right, correct him wherever you feel he is wrong, but in the best of manners. Don't shout, don't argue, don't quarrel. Maintain the proper civility, and he will start giving you more respect, more attention. That's just that. Next is it better to think very critically or think about the basic points on any topic? It depends upon the level of discussion you're having. Now, if I'm having a very serious discussion with serious people, a discussion depends upon my environment, my atmosphere which I'm in. If I'm with my friends who are not usually serious, all right, just stick to the basic points. Don't have to elaborate everything. But if I'm with people who already know a lot about it, trying to elaborate more, because in this process of elaboration, you'll be giving them a few good points, and in return you'll be receiving better points as well. So do that depending upon the level of conversation you are having. Next one we have already got from Adrita. She is saying that if I don't know enough about a topic and I have to deliver a speech instantly on how to get that, it's very tough. If you don't know anything about the topic, ask it. All right, whoever has given you the topic, if he's not a formal person, ask him that what shall I say. It's nothing wrong to seem less informed. Everyone cannot be informed about everything. We know something, maybe it's not the thing I know. It's fine, ask him. Now if it is a formal environment, to be honest, it's a deadlock. Like suppose in an interview someone asks you something which you don't know. How can you deal with it? Well, you can't deal with it. You have to face it. You have to face failure then. It's completely natural to face failure. But instead, what you can do is get prepared for it from now. Read, and read. How to read that? As I just said, that read 1 to 5 topics daily. All right, read about it. The internet is open for everyone. Read about it, and you'll get to know more. You'll get to have more information every day. Next is, what if someone tells me to speak about a topic I probably don't know? Yes, I just answered that. If someone doesn't know, if you don't know the topic that you're going to speak about, ask him or tell him that I don't know about the topic. All right, ask me something else. I might know about it. It's completely natural not to know everything. Accept this ideology first. The question is, have you heard about SSB interviews? No, I haven't. Whoever has asked the question, can you please elaborate what SSB is? Which I don't know the full form of SSB. And the next question is, a better accent would grab more people's attention. So how can we work on our accent efficiently, right? Yes, a better accent does grab more attention, I agree. Now, an accent in today's date, it differs. There are many accents. Indian accent, British accent, American, Canadian, lots of accents. Stick with your natural accent or the one you're more comfortable in, the one you have mastered already. All right. A very easy way to master accent is listen to the people to which the language belongs. Suppose I am going to master British accent. What I can simply do is I have to read British books. I mean the books written by British authors. I can watch their interviews. I can watch TV shows which are really worthy and are in British accent. So these are the ways you have to create an environment of that accent, of that ethnicity around you. The next question is, what to do if I can't express myself even after knowing a lot? It isn't that I don't have enough vocabulary. It is just that I can't express in words. So what can I do about that? All right, I faced this thing. All right, what I did was, before going to sleep, there is a moment where you are not feeling like sleeping. All right, then think about what maybe your friend said, maybe your teacher said during the class, anything, or maybe something you got across during surfing the internet, anything. All right, whatever you thought about it, think about it again. Maybe you can you can speak about it to yourself again and again. The moment you start speaking to yourself, someone might think that you're mad. No, you're just being highly intellectual when you're speaking to yourself. because you are giving yourself importance which you actually deserve. Next question. Who is the listener or who is better, the listener or the speaker? A person has to be both a listener and a speaker. Now, suppose I'm the speaker, which is I'm right now, and you are the listener. There are ways to become a good listener. We'll be going into the listening habits in the extras, and speaking habits are the ones that I've been elaborating about right now. Any further questions? All right, how to start a speech when you are nervous or giving a speech for the first time? Be prepared. As I said, right now you're there. Suppose you're going to give your first speech tomorrow. Be prepared. All right. How to get that stage nervousness out? Be prepared. Now, if you don't get prepared, then that's your fault. We have enough time right now. Right now, everyone is in their homes. Get prepared. Practice more and more. Give it more time because it's going to help you at the end. All right. All right. It's going to help you more and more. So get prepared, study about the topic, gain information. Let me tell you, the more you give information, the more you inform people, the more you're going to get that self-confidence in yourself. All right. So just one more information that your certificate of participation is also going to be submitted in the email after the webinar. Please do check it. Now we move on to the last portion of the webinar. It is again a very interesting one, I would say. It is the extras. What are these? The table of contents in extras is number 1, speed reading. Now, often you'll find that we read. A person finishes a book in 1 month. Another person does that in 1 week. Both of them have acquired the same knowledge, but the time taken is more. So how to speed read? Speed reading is just like emphasize speaking. We'll get to that. Number 2 is book recommendations. A book, depending upon your reading career, depending upon your reading level, whether you are a moderate reader, beginner, or an advanced reader, we'll recommend you some books that are very well acquainted, that you should be very well acquainted with. Next is listening habits, as I just mentioned. And number 4 is rhetoric course, as Sir just mentioned in the first, during the very first speech he gave. Number 1, speed reading. What is it? Accent and emphasis are the pitch of reading. Punctuation is but secondary. All right, this is said by Benjamin Disraeli. Yes, I agree to this completely. The way you speak is more important than the grammatical mistakes that you make while speaking. You need the punctuation marks, especially while you are writing, not while you're speaking. All right, this is speed reading. I'm going to show you an example of speed reading. This is an extract from And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. It says, in the corner of a first-class smoking carriage, Mr. Justice Wargrave lately retired from the bench, puffed at a cigar, and ran an interested eye through the political news in the Times. This is the main sentence. Now, how to read this very more efficiently? Focus on the more emphasized words, the bold words. Corner. Where is he sitting exactly? What are the characteristics? Don't focus on the ones which we don't need. Where is a person? Someone is obviously sitting. Where is it? In the corner. Now, where exactly is the corner? In a first class smoking carriage. Now, if it is a smoking carriage, which means it is a train. Who is he? Justice Wargrave. He is justice. He was a former justice. He was a judge. His name is Wargrave. His surname is Wargrave. Lately retired. He's a retired judge. He's not currently performing. Puffed cigar. Now, what do we generally puffed is a cigar. A cigar is puffed at. All right. He ran an interested eye. We don't need to read ran. Interested eye. Now, I'm interested in reading something. It's called an interested eye. So I'm running it through the newspapers. So what is it? He read the political news. It tells us about his character, that he likes more politics. He must be having a political opinion. In the Times. What is the name of the newspaper? It's the Times. Similarly, it's the next extract. All right. Look for yourself. Paper down, glance, Somerset, watch 2 hours. Now, what do you mean by this is Paper down. He was reading a paper down. Suppose this is a paper down. I kept the paper down. I glanced out. Now, how will I glance out? Glance out. I'm in a train. I glanced out. I looked outside the train window. Glanced out. Just the characteristics. Where is it? Where is the train currently? It is in Somerset, place in England. Now, watch. Watch. Now, watch can mean two things. One is the noun and one is the verb. One can be the verb that I'm watching something, and one is the noun that is a watch. Now, what does this mean? I just said glance out, which is why I don't need to repeat watch again, which means it is a physical watch. And the next words, 2 hours. It even increases the meaning. 2 hours. It's not been 2 hours in the train, it's been 2 hours to go. 2 hours are still left. That is the magic of reading books. And then there were none by Agatha Christie. We move on a bit quick now. The time's expanding. That is book recommendations. Now, a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. Guess who said this? George R.R. Martin. He is the author of the complete series of the Game of Thrones. What are the book recommendations? What are the genres we would recommend to you to read first? Now, if you're a beginner, read these 4 genres mainly: fiction, adventure, biographies, autobiographies. These are easy to understand, and these are better for a beginner to read with. This will help you grow your interest in reading. Now, next up is if you're an intermediate reader. If you already read, but you don't very much feel like, or you need something more important to read, what should I read? Read mystery. It's one of the best things. It excites. Mystery excites a lot. Read fantasy. It helps you to imagine. In a fantasy world, I can be anything. I can be the president of the country. I can be simply I can be the principal of the school. I can be anybody. Drama and classics. It's very good to read these 2 genres as well. Now, what if I'm an advanced reader? What are the advanced genres? Suppose I read a lot. What next should I read? Anthology, satire, poetry, and number 4 is sensational literature. Don't get into these 4 topics before reading as a beginner or an intermediate reader, or else you will leave, or this might be completely true, that if you read satire, poetry, sensational literature, anthology, you'll lose your interest in reading anything. These are some really hard things to do, which you must do only when you're an advanced reader. Now, these are the 4 selective genres which are good for all readers. Number 1 is philosophy. Number 2 is memoirs. Number 3 is self-help books. And number 4, surprisingly, it's a dictionary. Everyone should read a dictionary. As I just mentioned, open to a random page, 5 words daily, that's it. Now, beginner, what are the particular books I'm going to read as a beginner? I'm going to go a bit fast in this. That is fiction and adventure. Fiction, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. It's a very good book to start with. And Ruskin Bond, The Room on the Roof. Ruskin Bond is a brilliant writer for young adults. Obviously, Ruskin Bond, I would say, is a good writer for people of all ages. Read fiction, you must read Ruskin Bond. Adventure, Treasure Island, probably the most famous adventure book. Then is the journey to the center of the earth in fiction. You can ask her for these books. You can provide you with either the audiobook or the ebook for this. Next, we move on a bit fast now. Biographies and autobiographies. Biographies of Elon Musk, of Martin Luther King, which is I Have a Dream. Autobiographies of Wings of Fire by APJ Abdul Kalam, his autobiography of Playing It My Way. The Career Life of Sachin Tendulkar. Now, what if I'm an intermediate reader? I must read mystery and fiction, as we just read the extract, and then there were none by Agatha Christie. Ruskin Bond's The Perfect Murder. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by J.K. Rowling, and his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, which was actually named Northern Lights. Drama and classics. The Kite Runner. It's one of my favorites. Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, one of the best writers the world has ever seen. Pride and Prejudice, probably my favorite Jane Austen book. And Animal Farm, it's a satirical classic by George Orwell. And next, if you're an advanced reader, you should read Satire, The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde, a great satirist Next is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. It's great in satire, it's great in comedy as well. Next comes Anthology. It's by J.K. Rowling, The Tales of Beadle the Bard. And Ruskin Bond's another book, my favorite nature stories. It's anthology. Now, Poetry and Sensational, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. The Mystery of Edwin Drood by Charles Dickens. And finally, Basil by Wilkie Collins. Next up, the best for all books, Philosophy and Self-Help, As a Man Thinketh, Paul Coelho's The Archer, Jordan B. Peterson's modern day books, 12 Rules for Life, and James Clear's Atomic Habits. These are great books to read. Memoirs and dictionaries. Memoirs, Becoming by Michelle Obama, the former First Lady of America, the United States of America, and The Diary of a Young Girl, a very famous book by Anne Frank. And what should I read in dictionary? Oxford's Dictionary of Synonyms and Antonyms. You should have more than one word to express your emotion. Read synonyms and antonyms. The Complete Rhyming Dictionary by Clement Wood. Do consider to read these books at least once in your life. Next comes listening habits. How should I listen? All right, listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit over ego, and others over self. Very well said by Dean Jackson. He says, 7 tips to effective listening. I'm going to speed it up. It's very easy. Keep an open mind. I've said it before. Don't interrupt and don't impose your solutions. Don't be dogmatic. Ask questions only to ensure understanding. Don't ask questions to humiliate others. Don't show how knowledgeable you are. Just to ensure understanding, ask good questions. Defer judgment. Don't judge people. Keep your mouth shut when you have got nothing to say. All right, you don't have to make a point every time. Don't jump the gun. Listen till the end. All right, don't, just as I said, don't make judgments. Don't jump the gun as well. Don't just after listening to one thing, don't have an opinion about the person. And last one, avoid any distraction. Just simply don't multitask. All right, leave your phone down when you're listening to something. As simple as that. Next up is rhetoric course. Now let us go. What is rhetoric? Rhetoric is the art of ruling the minds by Plato. Now, what is rhetoric? Rhetoric is the study and art of writing and speaking persuasively. It aims to inform, motivate, educate, or persuade specific audience in specific situations. All right, there are 3 forms of rhetoric. Judicial rhetoric, used in the judicial forms, that is in a court. Then comes demonstrative rhetoric, as if a retirement speech or a wedding speech. And then comes deliberate rhetoric, that is used by most politicians. Now, 5 canons of rhetoric. What are those? Invention. The first big achievement of rhetoric is invention. The second is arrangement. How you arrange things is the way how you speak in a rhetoric. Your style of speaking. Your memory, how well do you remember? And your delivery, the way you deliver it. 3 appeals of rhetoric, very simple. Ethos, your credibility, your character. You focus on your credibility and your character, your ethos, or your pathos, your emotional bond with the listeners, and or your logos, that is logical and rational arguments that are very good in a debate. And here we end up for today. Thank you for having such a lovely audience. We'll be having the final questions if you require. Any further questions, or else we'll wind it up right now. Anyone who has got any questions can ask us. I know it's been tedious now. The last portions have been a bit faster. Anything you want to ask, we can ask it right now, or else we'll end it up. And the hiring link for our organization, if you want to join our organization, you can join it. The link will be given in the chat box. Anyone who has got any question can ask it now. The link is being provided. Anybody, any questions? Yes, how to increase interest on the topic that I don't want to move on with. You don't have to. You don't have to force yourself to read a topic. There are various choices in this world. Just shift to any other topic. Suppose if I don't like a book that is 12 Rules for Life, I can go for Atomic Habits. There are different things, all right? There are different topics. You don't have to be a master of everything. Next question. Anyone, any questions? Seeing none. All right, the speaker for this evening was me, Harshpat, organized by 848 Education Youth Foundation. And special thanks to North Point English Academy, our beloved school, and the teachers to join this webinar. Sir, uh, sir, if you'd like to continue from, we end up right now here. Sir, sir, ma'am, ma'am.
Are you getting me, Harsh?
Yes, sir, I can hear you now.
Okay. On behalf of all the students and all the participants, I congratulate you and I give you my heartiest thanks by giving such a beautiful input on effective English speaking. I could understand that you had studied a lot on this topic in order to deliver such a speech. In fact, such a knowledgeable webinar to all the participants. And in future, we expect that you and your group will also provide similar webinars on various topics, which will enlighten the students and give them a lot of benefit. On a personal level, I really enjoyed. For a little second also, I did not disconnect myself. And for at least almost two hours, I had been listening to you speaking on the various topics and the various nuances. And I'm very, very thankful to you and especially to all the participants who had such a lovely session with all of you. And with this, I would like you to wind up the session.
Thank you, sir. So can we end the meeting?
Yes, yes, sure.
Harsh,
Just before,
I would like.
Yes,
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 sir.
madam is there to speak
madam is there.
something.
Yes, sir.
It was a very good speech from your side, as well as sir told whatever. We came to know many new things and many more to further. I would like more webinars to be continued in such a way so that we are getting together again and again. It was a good evening and we enjoyed it. Very good, Harsh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Before ending up, we'll just inform that